One, I have a full agenda tonight and I have some special guests. So I'm going to begin about 5 minutes early. And so we begin, as soon as I get it out, with a short prayer, salute to our flag. So if everyone please stand. Almighty God, grant us the wisdom to make those decisions that are in the best interest of all our residents. May the Heavenly Father of us all bless those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation, and may He watch over and protect our service men and women now guarding the gates of freedom. Salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Statement of publication, Jessica.
Take notice that this regular agenda meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council being held on this 11th day of March 2024 has been posted and advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call.
Councilpersons Balca.
Here.
Polisi.
Here.
Anoha.
Here.
Roberts. Here. Stanarski. Borowski.
The reason I started early is I asked the imam to come. Today is the first day of the high holy day in the Muslim faith called Ramadan. So imam, if you would come up. Thank
you very much, Mr. Mayor. And to our general public, today is the first day of Ramadan. And as you have offered us, we have decided to come into the council chamber today, and we'll be breaking our fast. Our fast starts from morning, from dawn until sunset. And today, the timing for breaking the fast is actually 7 p.m. So we have about 2 minutes more.
Well, you're an experienced public speaker. I know you can stretch it out.
We have 2 minutes more to do so. While someone will be calling the prayer, the call to prayer, I will give a translation what it means. And then after the call to prayer, we will break our fast with water and dates. And I'm sure the water and dates is already here. And we will share with everyone. And you and everyone will be participating in breaking fast with us to understand the culture, to understand the sentiments of the Muslim community, because we share this with over 1.6 billion people throughout the world. So in a minute, so we still have 2 minutes more. In the meantime, we can just say that the call to prayer is called 5 times a day. In the morning, just when the sun, after that, when the sun passes its meridian, early afternoon, we just did 3 times. And now for the sunset prayer is the 5th call to prayer. And then about an hour and a half after this call, there will be another call later. That happens in all of the mosques throughout the world where people praise 5 times a day. Prayer is not new to anyone. People from all religious backgrounds have their own mode of prayers. All the prophets previously were given prayers, and they have worshiped God Almighty in the same way by kneeling down and putting the forehead on the ground, praising God Almighty. And that's what we will be doing today. And we thank you very much for making that accommodation for us. I think in room 310, we will be saying our prayers after we break our fast. So after we break our fast, I will just make a short presentation of what Ramadan is all about, which will take approximately 5 minutes. And we want to award the city of Saraville, the people of Saraville, and we will humbly call the mayor to be up to receive an award and on behalf of the council and also the citizen of Saraville.
Thank you.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
God is greater. God is greater.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
God is greater. God is greater.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
I testify that there is no one worthy of worship besides God.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
I testify there is none worthy of worship besides God.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, God.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول
I
الله
testify that Muhammad is the messenger of God.
حي على الصلاة
Come to prayer.
حي على الصلاة
Come to prayer.
حي على الفلاح
Come to success.
حي على الفلاح
Come to success.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
God is greater. God is greater.
لا إله إلا الله
There is no one worthy of worship besides God. Can we have the stuff to break the fast?
Imam, would you like the council up at the railing? Would you like us at the railing? Would you like us to come forward to the railing? Is that,
It's fine.
okay.
So this is what the breaking the fast. We normally break fast. You could break fast with anything, but it is recommended to break fast with dates and water, which is one of the practice of our prophet. So I will go straight ahead and make this short presentation. In the name of God, Allah, most gracious, most merciful, the guarantor of mercy. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and respected council members. I stand here tonight representing Masjid Sadar and Community Center as the religious director. And here I stand representing the Muslim community of Saraville to bring harmony, peace, and inclusiveness in this blessed month of Ramadan. Saraville Muslims are the most racially diverse group, and they come from a vast number of countries. Muslims in Saraville, approximately 3.5% of the total population of about 1,600 to 1,700 residents. Ladies and gentlemen of the Saraville City Board, I appreciate this opportunity to share insights about Ramadan, a significant month in the Muslim calendar. It goes beyond abstaining from food. It's a period of increased prayer, reflection, and acts of kindness. Muslims use this time for spiritual growth, gratitude, and strengthening community bonds. Breaking the fast together, known as iftar in Arabic, is often a joyous communal experience shared with family and friends. It's a chance to foster understanding and respect for the diverse culture and beliefs. Ramadan is a time of fasting to increase your prayer and acts of charity. It holds immense importance for millions worldwide, over 1.6 billion, fostering unity, empathy, and community spirit. As we embrace diversity, recognizing the various traditions within our city, understanding and acknowledging Ramadan contribute to a more inclusive and harmonious community relationship. Fasting has been a common practice among various religious traditions, including those of many prophets, for spiritual, for moral, and self-disciplinary reasons. The act of fasting is seen as a means of developing self-control, empathy for the less fortunate, and a deeper connection with the divine. It serves as a reminder of the dependence on God and a way to purify the soul. Mr. Mayor and members of the council and members of the public, I hereby present to you a token of appreciation and honoring your diligent and selfless work in this beautiful city of Saraville. Mr. Mayor, I humbly request you to come forward to accept this appreciation on behalf from the Muslim community of Saraville to the council members and the people of Saraville, the citizen of Saraville.
Get the whole family, you know. Mr. Mayor, how are you doing? We can. You guys are gonna come on the right and the left side, and I'm gonna stand in the middle, so we get everybody in. Who am I blocking out?
Would just like to read this?
Yes, please.
Masjid Sadar and Community Center, March 11, 2024. Ramadan 1st, 1445. Honors Mayor Kennedy O'Brien and the Saraville Borough Council for your outstanding dedication, valuable contribution of exemplary leadership, and unfading commitment to the diversity, equity, and inclusion within the city of Saraville. Your efforts are a remarkable example that will continue to inspire us all. And as we forge ahead into the future, building upon the strong foundation you have laid for Saraville continued growth and prosperity that make our community stronger and better.
Sure. I've asked the imam, if there's a blessing that can be given during Ramadan.
So I pray, O Allah, O God Almighty, I ask of you with your power and your mercy in this blessed month of Ramadan to guide and protect the leadership of the city of Saraville. We ask of you, O Allah, O God Almighty, we ask of you to guide our mayor to make the right decisions for 4,500 residents of Saraville. And I pray that, Ya Allah, you will guide and protect the leadership. We pray for the goodness of this community. We pray for the goodness of all of our police officers, those who are in the front line, those who are in the medical field. We pray for goodness of this society. We pray for you, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this blessed month of Ramadan, to give us that which is good in this world and good in the akhirah. Amen.
Thank you. Do you, her council,
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your
I'll wait till I get back to the chair. Okay. I'll wait till I get. Oh. When I first met with the imam and people of the Muslim community, and we had a meeting and we discussed things that were going wrong and things that were going right, at the end of the meeting, I said, America's a big tent. It has room for everyone. And Sayreville is part of America, and we have room for everyone. One of the things I found out, this is the third house of worship that I have welcomed in my time as mayor, beginning at the turn of the century. And it has made Sayreville, I always believe a church is a blessing on a community, regardless of the denomination, it's a blessing. So I humbly welcome you. Many of the members have been my neighbors for decades. And one of the things I found out was when the Hindu temple was establishing itself, and there was some right and there was some wrong, and it's just human nature. And that's where I come in. But what I found out 20 years later, it was just recently, that I found out that it was the children in the schools that took the abuse. The kids heard it at home, they get to school, they give it to their classmates. I do not want that happening twice while I'm mayor. I asked the Chief Plumacher, to make an appointment with the superintendent and the imam. And one of the things that came out, the superintendent said, you know, we have 1,100 Muslim children in our school. So let's not, if the adults have conflict, it's between the adults. It's not with the kids. That is really something that bothers me. 20 years ago in our town that happened. So let's not allow that to happen again. So welcome to Sayreville. I know it's time for you to go to prayer.
Thank you.
I don't think there's enough room in it, but as you said, you'll pray in shifts. So, but thank you, my friend,
Thank you very much.
and welcome to Sayreville.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I heard I got it right. I've been saying happy Ramadan to everybody tonight. And I asked the Ayman, I said, am I insulting or complimenting? He said, it's the right thing to say. Thank you, my
Thank you
friend.
so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to refer it to you. It's experience. Officer, I don't want to interrupt the prayer and vice versa. Could you close it, have the doors closed, please? Forgot something. Okay, with that, we'll go to approval of the prior minutes of the mayor and council. Council President,
Make a motion to approve the prior minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Councilpersons Roberts.
Yes.
Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Noha.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Are there any proclamations?
No.
Okay. Anything for executive?
No, Mayor.
Okay. All business?
Public hearing on bond ordinance number 5-24, bond ordinance providing for water utility improvements by and in the borough of Sayreville in the county of Middlesex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $850,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $850,000 in bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof.
At this time, I'll open the public portion for questions or comments on this bond ordinance. Are there questions or comments? Being no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. Councilman Balka.
Move the public hearing be closed, the ordinance adopted on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Noha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Zabrowski.
At this time, under appointments, I'd like to appoint Dan Velosin to fill in for the unexpired term of Dan Buchanan. I don't need a motion on that. Next item.
Introduction of the following ordinances. Ordinance number 6-24, Borough of Sayreville, County of Middlesex, ordinance addressing purchasing.
Councilman Balka.
Move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing be held on 3/25/24.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Noha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Next item.
Ordinance number 7-24, Borough of Sayreville, County of Middlesex, ordinance addressing parliamentary procedure during council meetings.
Councilman Balka.
Move the
Oh,
ordinance be.
Go ahead.
I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertising according to law, and a public hearing be held on 3/25/24.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Noha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Zabrowski. Ordinance number 8-24, ordinance supplementing and amending ordinance number 3-24, fixing the salaries of certain borough officials, officers, and employees for the years 2023 to 2027.
Councilman Balka.
Move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing be held on 3/25/24.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Yes.
Anoha. Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9-24, an ordinance granting municipal consent for the renewal of a cable television franchise for the operation of a cable television system within the borough of Sayreville, New Jersey to CSC TKR LLC, doing business as Cablevision of Raritan Valley.
Councilman Balka.
Move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing be held on 3/25/24.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Anoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski. Zabrowski.
Yes.
Ordinance number 10-24, an ordinance amending the Borough of Sayreville landfill and Melrose redevelopment plan.
Councilman Zabrowski.
I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing to be held on 3/25/24.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson Zabrowski.
Yes.
Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Noha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski. Just give me,
11:24 is next.
I was trying to figure out if I had to make sure I had it under the right person. Ordinance number 11-24, an ordinance readopting ordinance 842-3 entitled an ordinance of the Borough of Sayreville in the County of Middlesex and State of New Jersey providing for the exemption of certain dwellings pursuant to Public Law 1992, Chapter 441.
Councilman Balka.
Move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing be held on 3/25/24.
Second.
Okay, resolutions, this
Wait, I
time.
gotta do roll call. Hold
I'm
up.
sorry. Roll call.
Councilpersons Balca.
Yes.
Polisi.
Yes.
Noha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski. Zabrowski.
Okay, this time I'm going to open the public portion for questions or comments on resolutions. Other questions or comments? Yes, Frank.
Mayor, council, professionals,
Frank, you need to, for the record, you need to say your name and address.
okay. Frank Terzino, 32 Canal, Hartown.
Thanks.
Mayor, council, professionals, fellow residents. Resolution 2484, authorizing the designation of the old firehouse as a historic landmark. I urge you all to vote yes. I know we submitted a plan. It's a long plan. There's a lot involved. But last meeting, it was requested and we delivered. As you know, our duty is to protect, preserve the past to serve the future. And we're doing that. We're doing our best. The master plan calls for inventory and vitalization of existing buildings. This falls right in your wheelhouse. It's perfect. Barry said we're in a small town. Everywhere we go, for 20 years I've known you. Had all the veteran things and in here in Chamber. Well, if we make that vanish, small town is gone. The last historic building of that era. There is historic value. Preservation New Jersey, they have a plan. We're working with them. It's a long plan. It's very kind of complicated, but we can work through that. We can revitalize it. We can do some really good stuff. We can put the fire chiefs over there. It could be anything. It could be a joint community project. It's worth it. Like I said, Preservation Jersey inspected it. I was a civil engineer for 2 years at Little Rock. Just got my shirt today. We inspect the building on a basis. We knew what to look for, and we were trained. So I did inspect that building with my experience. It's got some rough spots, but it's all fixable and doable. We're just hoping you guys can help us out and do the right thing. It comes from both sides of the rail here, your side and the civilian side. It's a community project. We can really make something really nice over there. I personally want to see firehouse subs over there, but that's a long process. I just want to say appreciate your comments, and I hope you support us because I know deep down in your hearts, you know it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Are there any other questions, Arthur?
Thank you, Mayor. Arthur Rittenhouse, 33 Delcat Lane, Sayreville, trustee of Sayreville Historical Society. I just want to follow up with what Frank said. You know, this is a historic part of town. I know there's talk about revitalizing the downtown. What is better than to have an old building, a historic building, so people can go and people can see it? We've been working on this since 2018 as far as the preservation part of the building. It's not something that's new. Mayor, you even commented in 2018 how wonderful the building was because of all the civic groups that met in that building and how it was used. Well, we're looking at bringing back that building and let's use it for things. We don't know what we can use it for right now. That's part of why the plan calls for a committee to set up. All we're asking tonight is you adopt that resolution that declares it as a local historic site. It's not costing you any money. What it's doing is showing the people in town that we're not a woke community that wants to take down things and wreck things, that we're a town that appreciates our history, and that's what we want to look forward to. And I would urge you to pass the resolution tonight. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Jim?
Thank you very much, Mayor Jim Robinson, Wells Square in Parlin. On the landfill resolution that's going to the planning board, a few years ago, at the advice of Attorney Serenian, who came in to assist us with the affordable housing, we adopted an ordinance that said that when commercial developments were built, they had to contribute to our affordable housing fund. Do we know how much this particular project will contribute to our affordable housing fund?
Fine.
We don't know the number, but yes, they are compelled to contribute to affordable housing, even a commercial development.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That will help us tremendously going forward. It's kind of amazing that only 4 years ago, we adopted that ordinance. The towns have been doing it for a while. Under this project, this land will be transferred. This is borough property that will be sold, and we'll get about $20 million for this. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what are the borough, Mayor, through you, because you want the questions through you, what are your plans for that $20 million? Our budget is about, I don't know, 62, 63 million. So we could reduce taxes by a third. We could build a community center. We could refurbish the First Borough Hall firehouse next door. $20 million is an awful lot of money. We could do a combination. We could build a community center and reduce taxes significantly. What are the plans for that $20 million?
There's no specific plans at this moment.
Okay, when will there be plans for that?
When we get the $20 million.
When you get the 20 million, then you'll start to make plans for what you're going to do with
As
it.
first you get the money, then you figure out how you're going to spend it.
Really? Okay,
You may want to wish to do it
All right.
differently, but that's how we do it.
thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? No other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
All right, so thank you. Second.
Roll call?
We can adopt the resolutions or? Okay, we're just closing the public. Confirmation. Okay, this is just to close the public portion. Councilperson Zabrowski. Falca.
Yes.
Khaleesi.
Yes.
Enoha.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Is there a motion to vote on the consent?
Motion I can take out. I make a motion that we vote on the resolution items.
Okay,
So
one by one,
One by one?
one by one. Or we can vote on the whole thing, and if there are any changes, the person voting can, sure.
So I'm going to make the motion and I'm going to exclude 2024-84. And the reason I'm excluding that is not to say no completely to our history. I think that's important. I do, however, have concerns about the project plan. This is part of what my background is, and I did not see the balances in there about costs and where we're going to pull funding from, what the project is as a whole. The details you're talking about are the things I need to feel comfortable about moving forward with this. My understanding is that if we move forward with this resolution tonight, that the building is protected, and if it falls down tomorrow, we would be responsible as a borough to have to pay for it to be restored to the historic version of it. And I have too many questions right now to pass it at this point. I do hope that you'd be able to come back and give me those checks and balances of costs and how we're going to raise those funds, a project plan that we can start working with. I would need more detail than was provided to me already. So that's,
What is your vote, Don? Is it yes or no?
so I'm no for that
Actually, if I can
one.
just clarify, Council President, I think at this point, we're just entertaining a motion. Are you looking to have that particular resolution voted on separately?
We can vote on that separately because I wanted to do all the resolutions.
Yep. Okay,
And I
so.
would exclude 2024 from my approval.
Certainly. So since we're dealing with a consent agenda, it would be acceptable for any individual member to request any item to be dealt with separately. So if you want to proceed on a consent basis, there could still be a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda, which would be 2024-74 through 85, excluding 84.
I think let's do that separately. So we'll do all the regular resolutions and then we'll discuss 2024-84 separately. Sure.
Council President, are you making a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding 2024-84?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Roberts.
Yes.
Falca.
Yes.
Khaleesi.
Yes.
Enoha.
Yes.
Sinarski.
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Now a motion could be made on 24-84.
Someone would have to have.
I'll make a motion to pass 2024-84.
Make a motion to vote on it.
Correct.
Yeah, so vote on it.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. Are there any comments?
Mayor, I've made my comments.
You have, but the other council people, are there any comments?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Sush.
Went to the building today. Excuse me, I was in the building today and I was totally surprised at the condition that the building is in. I was in that building many times, 25 years ago. I took my boat licenses there. I was involved with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I spent time there. It is a completely different building than it is now. I am actually scared to go in that building, and I feel you need a dust mask, a respirator, because there's all asbestos shingles in there. The lead paint for 50 years, 100 years is in there. I really don't want anybody even in that building at this point. The cost for the cleanup is got to be astronomical. It gets to a point where the cost of something versus what we're going to get out of the building, I'm not sure of yet. So at this point, I would like to meet with anybody that wants to meet with me and talk to me at your convenience about this. But right now, I'm going to vote no, that I can't see it. I'm sorry.
Any other comments? Being no other comments, roll call.
Councilpersons Balca,
Yes.
Khaleesi,
No.
Anoha,
For me, overall, my comment before the vote is generally from an understanding that there's no confirmation that, this is of a cost to the borough, this specific designation, so if I've been listening to my colleagues on this and I haven't really heard any specifics on it. So that's the reason why I'm voting yes, for us to designate this landmark to be a historical site. I think it allows our, committees to pursue opportunities that will push our community forward. I think that we should support that as a board. So that's the reason why I'm voting yes. Thank you.
Roberts,
No.
Sinarski,
No.
Zabrowski.
No.
Okay. Next item.
Authorization to accept the correspondence as listed.
Make a motion to accept the correspondence.
Is there a second? Roll call.
Councilpersons Roberts,
Yes.
Balca,
Yes.
Khaleesi,
Yes.
Anoha,
Yes.
Sinarski,
Yes.
Zabrowski.
Yes.
Okay. Next item.
Mayor.
No, before that. About Joe.
That was part of,
under the correspondence.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, our tax collector, our tax assessor of 40-plus years, Joe Kupch, has decided to retire effective April 1st. Joe, we want to thank you for the 4 decades of service to the borough, and we wish you a long, healthy, and happy retirement. Committee reports, Administration and Finance, Councilman Balca.
thank you, Mayor. I also like to thank Joe for all his years of service to the borough. And AFS is finally done. We're looking at over $16 million in surplus, which is up to over $2 million from last year, which is good. We're still working on the budget. We're hoping to still introduce it at the next meeting in March, but we might have to push it off to April because of some other situations going on. Other than that, progress.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning, Councilman Zabrowski.
Thank you, Mayor. Planning Board met last week. Due to an adjournment, the only matter that was taking place was an executive session. At this point, what took place cannot be placed on the public record, but I'm assuming it will at some point. Our next meeting is March 20th. Sarah met last month. During that time, we approved the resolution for landfill 3, which was earlier discussed. That's for a cold storage facility at the old landfill. There were a couple of, the reason for the resolution was although warehousing was already a use, cold storage was not one. So we wanted to be more specific on that. And there were several modifications related to height, buffering, and parking, and that's moving forward to the planning board. Also, the next Sarah meeting And moving forward beyond that will take place in council chambers, a more comfortable venue for that. And when executive session for Xero does take place, it'll take place in room 310. And other than that, Mayor, progress.
Thank you, Councilman. Public Safety, Councilman Anoha.
Thank you, esteemed Mayor. Well, within public safety, I want to, use this platform to take a moment to extend my regards to our police department, the efforts that they're doing, even the positive feedback I've gotten from, some of our demographics, particularly the elderly citizens as well, for the advancements that some of the police departments are making. In terms of public conversations, I know that from a public safety standpoint, we've had consistently weeks now, many folks speaking towards our lights, our street lights, although it is daylight saving time, so it's going to be brighter. But ultimately, that is a public safety concern that seems to be increasing. Esteemed Mayor, I know you have a great relationship with the Chief of Police, even, with leaders of other boroughs, other towns as well nearby. So hopefully we can get good news. I know it's something that's high on top of your list in terms of priorities. So I know our residents are really, eager for that and positive news in that area. So that's one of the main priorities from public safety, and looking forward for progress in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works, Councilman Kalachi.
Progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Recreation, Councilman Sinarski.
Thank you, Mayor. Recreation Department, our first big thing is going to be the Easter egg hunt. That's going to be on March 23rd, 2024. That's always a lot of fun. Culture, arts. We had a meeting this week, but we're working on some things over there for the adult learning, for the Adult Active Adult Center. Then the Human Relations meeting, I went to that also last week, and there was a lot of progress.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Water, Sewer and Environmental, Council President.
Mayor, if you'd indulge me, this is Women's History Month, so I'd like to say a few words about that. I want to recognize Women's History Month. Earlier in my career, I was a contract speaker, and one of the topics I would present was the Women's Conference, which covered a variety of topics specific to women. The direction I was provided to kick off the conference was to discuss the accomplishments of 5 influential women. Those influential women were not named, and it was up to me as the presenter to deliver what was promised. I started with my attempting to find historic women. Then I tried to introduce more contemporary women like Sally Ride, the first American astronaut, Sarah Palin, and Hillary Clinton. Although these women were all greatly accomplished and worthy of utmost respect, it really didn't evoke the emotion and pride to my classes. I asked other trainers who led this seminar if they had any magic list, yet I found that that didn't exist. So during one of my conferences, I thought, I've already asked my peers, let me see what my attendees come up with. At least I'd have a handle on what women inspired them. Of course, there were historic figures, writers, poets, business leaders, but here's what was consistent in that first group and every group after that. The most influential women are those who are close to us, our mothers, our sisters, grandmothers, aunts, friends, and teachers. This was true for me also. The most influential women in my life were my mother, grandmother, aunts, cousins, and others. My mother came to the United States when she was 9 years old alone. My grandmother could not come until she was cleared. My mother's father was an American citizen, so she could come. It was a different story for my grandmother. When my grandmother came to this country, you can consider her a single mother. She worked and saved and was able to buy property. They were tough women who did what was necessary for their family. So today, in light of Women's History Month, let me acknowledge all the moms, the grandmoms, sisters, cousins, aunts, teachers, and friends that we find strength in, and thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Anything else, Council President?
I do have a few other things to talk about that are more business related. The Environmental Commission had a presentation on rain gardens from Dorian Kerber. The community garden is moving forward in its new location. Councilman Zembrowski had covered Sarah. We are going forward with the Lewis Bay II Future Municipal Leaders Scholarship. The deadline is April 1st, and I'm working with Mr. Howard at the high school to get those entries in. And the public hearing we had at the Environmental Commission on Kennedy Park bathroom was passed by resolution today, so thank you all. Progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under my comments, just to put things in perspective, it's not that anybody up here is mean. It's not that we want to make anybody's life uncomfortable. But I had a discussion with engineering before the meeting about roads. We have 600 roads in Sayreville. And for whatever reason, all the different plans to do the roads have never really produced a good outcome. So this year, the plan is to do 10 roads, which means we won't do all the roads until 60 years from now. It's not what people want. People want their roads done. So the issue is, where are we going to put the money? And most of the people this year, when knocking on doors, all the feedback I got was they really want their roads done. There are many roads that haven't probably, are there any, Jay, that haven't been done for 60 years or close to that? Yeah, there are. So I'm not looking to rain on anybody's parade, but you got to prioritize. So we have to prioritize what comes first. The problem with the firehouse is they have a foot of water in the basement. They may have lead pipes which have to be removed. They may have asbestos which has to be removed. We have to put in a fire suppression system. We have to put in an elevator. We have to make the bathrooms ADA compliant. We have, when an old building closes, that's why many times when a parochial Catholic school is shut down for a year or more, you can't use it because the cost of bringing it up to code is prohibitive. And that's the problem that we as a borough council face with the old borough hall next door. My understanding and what I'm being advised is just to get a certificate of occupancy, it's a $2 million endeavor. The other thing that has to be considered is once something is earmarked or designated as historical, it's not a simple thing to fix. You have to follow a very prescribed method and bring it back to its original context. It's a very expensive proposition, and my discussions with people from the Historical Society is my comment to the people of Sayreville is we can buy the building or we can fix your road. One of the things I recommended to the Historical Society is to put it on the ballot and let the people decide where they want the money to go. And I still think it's a good idea. And then all the facts will come out, the plan will come out, the costs will come out, and people can decide. And that's my recommendation on the building next door. With that, we'll go to the next item.
Authorization for the tax collector to refund taxes and cancel all subsequently billed taxes due to 100% disabled veteran tax exemption for the following: 19 Martha Boulevard in the amount of $20,600.55, 342 Washington Road in the amount of $3,236.55, Beauty Shop application received from Monique Duval, trading as Glorious Hair Restoration Salon to operate a beauty shop with 4 chairs located at 162A Main Street. Authorization to award a contract for a grant writing consultant. Proposals were received on 2/29 and are currently being reviewed. Authorization to scrap filing cabinets no longer needed by the borough.
Before you go further, I just need Glenn to comment on the shape of the filing cabinets, their approximate age and the approximate condition they're in, so that we don't have an issue that we're throwing out new product.
Anything that's reasonably new is getting repurposed. All of these probably date back to the 60s. They're steel and covered in paint of an unknown origin, so they're clearly beyond their useful life.
Thank you. Next.
Authorization to add Board of Health ordinances to the revised general ordinances to allow county health inspectors to properly enforce the health code. As you saw in your packet, I received a memo dating, I think it's about 22 years ago, originally from the Board of Health, to have those ordinances added to our code, and they were never put in or presented to the mayor and council, so it was sort of a cleanup. Request to travel received from the following: Cerebral Engine Company to attend a golf outing fundraiser on April 26, 2024 in Colts Neck. Authorization to renew a non-fair and open contract with Pole Services for social work services at the police department in an amount not to exceed $87,493.12. Coin toss requests received from the Cerebral Junior Bombers football for July 13th and 14th, and Cerebral Junior Bombers cheer for August 10th and 11th. Application for a special event received from First Presbyterian Church to hold a yard sale on April 27th, rain date May 4th, and for them to also to hold a flea market on September 14th with a rain date of September 21st. Authorization to memorialize an emergency contract issued to Pumping Services, Inc. in the amount of $36,094.24 for the repair of pumps at the River Road Pumping Station. That's
Glenn?
In anticipation of 5 upcoming retirements, we're looking for authorization to call for a certified list for patrolmen for the Department of Personnel.
Any objections? Next item.
Authorization to promote Deborah Turner to Record Supports Technician 1, retroactive to January 1st, 2023. That's due to the fact that she was given the wrong title when she was hired. This is just an administrative, no change in pay or anything, but the title needs to be changed on that employee.
Any objection? Next item.
We had a request from the county to engage in a $2,000 annual contribution to the Blue Cares program as the federal funding for that ran out. That is the program by which we refer people who overdose for follow-up care for counseling and treatment.
Any objections? Next item.
Authorization to appoint Jacob Rivera from Laborer 1 part-time to Laborer 1 full-time in the Department of Public Works, effective March 16th, and that's to fill a vacancy.
Any objections? Next item.
Authorization to appoint John Klossick, the pump station operator in the Water and Sewer Department, effective April 1st, 2024, also due to a vacancy.
Any objection? Next item.
Authorization to appoint Susan Fareno from Record Support Technician part-time to Record Support Technician full-time in the Police Department, effective March 16th, 2024.
Any objections? Next item.
Authorization to appoint Beverly Johns as tax assessor, effective April 2nd, 2024.
Any objection? Anything else?
I have one add-on, and I'm sorry, we didn't have this in time for the agenda cutoff. Looking for authorization to dispose of scrap value floating docks that were recovered post Hurricane Sandy that have been sitting out at Fort Grumpy since that time.
And the proceeds would go to the general fund?
Yeah.
Okay. Any objection? Anything else? CFO's report, Denise?
Budget transfer resolution and authorization for self-examination of the 2024 municipal budget. Authorization to accept the Safe and Secure Communities Grant number 24-1219 with the State of New Jersey Federal Grant Program administered by the Division of Criminal Justice, Department of Law and Public Safety for the period of June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025 in the amount of $45,150. Thank you.
Thank you. Borough Engineers report?
Mayor, no report this evening?
Thanks. Borough Attorney's report?
Good evening, Mayor. I don't have any report. Happy.
Thank you. Public portion, questions and comments on any and all issues. Are there any questions? Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Robinson, Parlin. I have to say, first, I'm a little disappointed with the historic preservation vote and a little surprised that might get your change in vote since the last meeting. I've been talking about open space and I did a little research. October 10th of last year, the then Mayor Kilpatrick said she had met with former Mayor John McCormick, not the Woodbridge McCormick that you reference all the time, but Saraville's former Mayor John McCormick, to discuss open space, and she recommended the borough purchase the 40 acres adjacent to Kennedy Park and preserve it as open space. The minutes of that meeting say Councilwoman Roberts made a motion to get appraisals for Block 252, Lot 2. It was seconded and approved unanimously. At a subsequent meeting, there was a discussion, Donna, you might remember this, about do we need 2 appraisals or 3 appraisals? And we said we would go with 2, and if a third one came in, that would be fine. January 18th, the Open Space committee agreed with the council and reaffirmed the purchase of the 40 acres behind Kennedy Park and some other parcels, I think the one by Sherwood Forest where they wanted to put up the mini warehouses. And I was told one of the committee members had some great suggestions about a company that facilitates these acquisitions. I don't know if that's being pursued or not. But in October of 2023, the council authorized getting appraisals. In November, it was said 2 would be okay. In January, the Open Space Committee agreed with the council's action to get appraisals and said that was a top priority for those 2. The council and the Open Space Committee both voted to move ahead. I asked before, and the business administrator said he's waiting for the Open Space Committee. The Open Space Committee voted in January and is waiting for the council and the business administrator, and we're all waiting for action on preserving open space. So now that I've read you the minutes, what the council approved, what the Open Space Committee did, where are we? Are we going to just keep bouncing this back and forth?
No, we met with Mr. Mako, and he has no inclination to sell us the property.
Well, I know some other people have spoken to Mr. Mako. First of all, that's not required. And the tax assessor spoke to Mr. Mako in his capacity as the Open Space Committee, and I have a different read on that. So did we get appraisals?
I believe we did, yeah.
Are there 2 or 3?
I believe it's only 2.
There are only 2. Okay, are we going to pursue that third?
Well, it seems kind of pointless being the property owner has absolutely no inclination to
Well, that's
sell us
your
the
version of
property.
what the property owner says.
Maybe the mayor who was sitting at the same meeting can attest to what I'm
He said
saying.
he didn't want to sell it.
Okay, well, we'll pursue that. And that's not a requirement either, is it? That the property owner.
Is it a requirement? No, but it seems pointless to spend taxpayer money for additional assessments when the property owner does not wish to
So
sell
we're
the
going to let
property.
this drop. We're not going to try and pursue the purchase of that 40 acres. We're going to let Mr. Mako develop it instead.
It's Mr. Mako's property.
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting attitude. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. That's why we're building almost 4 million square feet of warehousing in the center of town on Main Street and on Cheesequake Road. Mayor, you mentioned that Joe Kupch is retiring. People don't often have high regard for folks that have tax in their title. Joe Kupch is 1 in a million. He served this borough with distinction for 42 years. 42 years. And I've called him many times over those 42 years for advice on things in Sayreville and outside of Sayreville. And I deal with a lot of tax assessors throughout the state. And when they find out I'm from Sayreville, they say, well, you have one of the best. And I called him today just to wish him well. And he told me there were 2 things he was most concerned about. 1 was making sure everything was in order for his successor. And 2, the purchase and preservation of open space, especially the 40 acres adjacent to Kennedy Park. He said he has spoken to Mr. Mako. He has said the committee's worked hard on that. They've made it a top priority. And I would hope that we would honor Joe, a true public servant, and do everything we can to preserve that space. And keep going back to Mr. Mako, who's been around the block a few times and knows how to negotiate and knows what an opening position should be. Now, a while ago, I'm going to try and do this quickly because I want to talk about veterans housing at the end. I have a very serious concern about veterans preference housing. But a while ago, someone called me, and Mayor, I spoke about this at the last meeting, about the chief of staff's position. And does the full-time chief of staff, Mayor, work under your direction?
They both do.
They both do. Okay. All right. And I'll tell you why I'm wondering. Somebody called me about this a while ago, and that's how I first got involved. And I don't use LinkedIn much because I'm winding down my career. I'm not looking for a new job. I'm looking to give up volunteer positions and not come back to council meetings very much. And something popped up and it said, Zach has viewed your profile. And I thought, Zach has viewed my profile? So I looked to see who Zach was, and it said Zach was the mayor's chief of staff. Now, at that time, we haven't even created the position, so I was really confused. I didn't know why somebody was calling themselves a chief of staff if we hadn't created the position. I certainly didn't know why he would be checking out my profile. And Mayor, was this at your direction that he checked out my profile on LinkedIn?
We did advise him that you were an active resident at the public portions.
Okay, so am I under surveillance by the mayor's office?
Well, you may be under surveillance, but not by my office.
Okay, am my water bills being looked at as well?
As I said, you may be under surveillance,
Okay,
but
but
not
what
by
about my
my
water
office.
bills? Are they being looked at? Should I stay away from third floor windows?
I wouldn't know, Jim.
You know,
Are you
I got a
paying-
couple calls.
Are you paying your water
Mayor,
bills?
one was from somebody in the law enforcement community and one was a former official who told me I should be very careful because some of my questions have rubbed some folks the wrong way. And I'm seeing what they talk about now. Maybe, maybe he wanted land use advice. Maybe he wanted to ask me how Mayor McCormick was able to get the DuPont to donate that land for the first aid squad. So I'm gonna suggest, the motivation was the best and leave it at that. The other thing I want to talk about, Mayor, is the preference for veterans for housing. In
Jim,
2019,
your time's up.
I can't talk about affordable housing for veterans
Your time's up. You have 5 minutes to do the business of the borough. You can come back up later.
because
But your
veterans
time-
housing is very important, Mayor, and
Your time is up.
I would appreciate it. I'll take
Jim,
30
you-
seconds to talk
You
about
timed
veterans
this
housing.
perfectly. Please sit down.
I can't talk about veterans
Please
housing.
sit down. You can come back, but you can't do
Okay,
it on
that's what I'll do then.
this
Thank you.
breath. All right.
Mayor, Council, Arthur Rittenhouse, 33 Delacat Lane. Disappointed in the vote on the resolution to make it a local landmark. Unfortunately, many of you are uninformed. If we did a local landmark, it doesn't require that we have to keep the building. The borough owns the building. It's your building now. That wouldn't change. If it became a state or national landmark, then the building could stay the same. It would not have to meet ADA or any of the other requirements because you can't change it. They had a question when we first submitted this because they widened the door for the fire engines because fire engines got bigger. We had to explain that to them in 2021 and 2022, and then they said, okay, we understand that. And again, we did not come up here. This shouldn't be a battle between roads and the firehouse. We came up here not asking for a penny. We came up here asking for that local designation to keep our heritage. Fortunately, the only thing I think we're going to see with that building, the way the council is acting, is our new Christmas ornament, which comes out, our holiday ornament. It happens to be that building, which we picked over a year ago as an ornament. So I guess the borough people in town will see that, and they can have that as a memory of this building. If any of you had wanted questions about this, you should have contacted us. You should have come with us. Frank's been in the building. Stosh, you could have asked questions. You know, I'm very disappointed in the way this has gone. I don't understand the background to it or why it's happened this way, but you were given every piece of information you wanted and still turned it down and wanted more. We're not in a battle over the roads. We're in a battle to keep our town's history. And as I said before, we're turning into a woke council, mayor and council, just like the people tearing down statues and everything else around the country. And that's a shame. Just one comment about Mr. Mako. Mr. Mako does things in town without permits, and nobody ever follows up or does anything with it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ken?
Thank you, Mayor. Ken Olszewski, 108 North Edward Street. I too want to talk about the resolution that was defeated tonight on the building next door. And I have to admit, I don't know much about historical landmarks, the rules, regulations on them. So I'm at a handicap in what I might have to say. I'm looking more for information than I am to offer anything to you. I think I got some from Art. Yeah, just left the podium. But what I'm hearing things like, well, we got to put an elevator in there. If we designate this a historical landmark, or let me start first in saying, if we don't do this, what are our plans for the building? Are we going to bulldoze it and put a parking lot there or something?
There's no plans to do anything at the moment.
So it's going to remain there, then you're telling me?
At the moment,
Yeah.
there's no plans.
Okay. Have we looked at the structural integrity of the building? And what I'm talking about from the outside, is the building in danger of falling down or anything bad happen? Now, not talking about putting something in it or putting people in it or putting an elevator in it. I mean, do we have to use a second floor in this building? You have to do anything as far as use at the moment? But my question is, do we know the structural integrity of the building?
And there's no certificate of occupancy. It does not meet code for buildings. We have not spent any more money investigating that because for us to bring it to code, before we do we spend money doing an in-depth engineering report, we're at $2 million. And right now, I'd like to do more than 10 streets.
Well, I think as Art Rittenhouse ably said here a minute ago, I don't think it should be the building next door versus doing roads. We know there are a lot of roads in town have to be done. There are roads in every town that has to be done. Everybody wants their street done tomorrow. That's a fact. And the idea that we're going to have X amount of money to do all the roads in town, that's fantasy talk. It's just ridiculous. We have a program for doing roads. Maybe it wasn't a good enough program. Maybe it needed to be speeded up. I think the councils up here in the past few years have done more roads and tried to speed this up. But to say that, we're going to do anything versus redoing everybody's road in town or putting it on the ballot, do you want your road done? That's kind of a crazy thing in my humble opinion. But I want to get back to the structural integrity of this building. If we don't do anything at the moment, does anyone have any reports that this building is in danger of falling down?
Don't know. When?
Does anybody know that?
Mr. Cornell will be able to speak to this maybe in a little bit more detail, but the borough contracted with CME to do an assessment of the structure back in 2019. And if I remember correctly, there's 3 grades, basically poor, fair, and good, and it fell into the fair category. But that was, 2019. What's evolved since then, I couldn't say.
Yeah, I'm just getting the idea that we're talking about what do we have to do to get the building in the shape of moving people into it or putting an elevator to use the second floor. I think, quite frankly, that's putting the cart before the horse. If we have a building, if we ask our legislature, both locally, both on the statewide and on Washington basis, to help us, we apply for grants. I think we might have a method of saving this building. But the idea of we're going to put everything in one pile and say it's going to cost us X millions of dollars to put this building in order, I think basically it's just a joke. It's like saying, well, we're going to throw this out, so it's an impossibility. It can't be done. And my last comment is, I hope we look as wisely at spending money every single time we have an agenda here as we're doing with this, because sometimes it looks like we're spending money like water and nobody really is looking at it at all. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Jim?
Mayor, I want to talk about veterans' preference for housing, but I do just want to say something. I'm on the board of a building that is a historically preserved building. I've testified in front of SHPA a few times in Trenton about historic preservation. I do know a little bit about it. I know there's a difference. You use the analogy of opening a school. Their standards are different when it comes to schools. It wouldn't be the same for this facility. That's why when the 425 Main Street, the old administration building, was closed and then later became the historic museum's headquarters, you didn't have to go through all that because the standards are different. It's not a school. And all of the reasons that the folks gave for voting no, because there's no money, there's a reason to vote yes, because what they are looking to do is be able to go get grants to preserve it. We talked last council meeting about $7 million we're going to get for ball fields in a parking lot, or that we're going to apply for in time. We applied for $1 million. We're going to try and get the total cost to $7 million. We know there are grants available for things that we want to do. And as I indicated earlier, Mayor, there's $20 million that we're getting for the sale of the old landfill on Journey Mill Road. But they're not even looking to spend that money, even though our open space committee is called the Open Space Farmland and Historical Preservation Fund, but they're not even looking for that. They're looking for grants to be able to do this. But before you cut me off, I want to talk about veterans' preference for housing. In 2019, when we were going through your affordable housing debacle, I provided a pamphlet to the folks who were then on the council on creative ways to address our affordable obligation. One of the suggestions was family housing with a veteran's preference. And when the place on Alaska Court, I think was approved, we were told they would offer a veteran's preference. Well, after they were up and running and taking on tenants, I called there, I got an application, and the application doesn't even ask if the applicant is a veteran. That's not even a question on the application. I pursued this a little further, and finally, after phone calls and emails and back and forth, I was told the preference was actually for homeless veterans, not low-income veterans, not veterans who need some rental assistance to get by, not temporarily unemployed veterans, homeless veterans. And there are only, of those, I think there are 97 units, close to 100 units. There are only 3 or 4 of them that are for these homeless veterans. And to date, they haven't accepted one homeless veteran in there. And that's not what we were told. That's not the way this was sold to us. And a veteran, a man or woman who served their country, needs to be homeless, living on the street in order to qualify is just crazy. That's not right. And I brought this up at the council and Sarah, and as you know, the former Sarah chair and I didn't enjoy the great relationship the current Sarah chair and I have. And I was told that that was statutory. There is absolutely nothing they could do. And I don't think they pursued that. But this is wrong. This is wrong. The men and women who served our country, who might be in a situation where they don't have funds flowing, shouldn't be treated like this. You ought not to have to be homeless to be able to even apply. And if you meet that qualification, there are only 3 or 4 units available out of 97. That's just not right. I don't know if it's statutory. I'm not an attorney. I see the chairman of Sarah is taking notes, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure he'll look into that. And I would hope the council would as well, because that is not what we were told. That is not what we were led to believe. I don't know what was negotiated. I wasn't a part of that, but that's just not right. And I would implore this governing body to look into that, and please provide me with an answer when you do. And I would appreciate anything you can do there, John. And Mayor, any progress on the discussion with DuPont on their property for a school bus depot to help end this ridiculous lawsuit?
I would make a recommendation that if you are anxious about proposed solutions for their bus depot, you bring it to Dr. Labby and let he and the Board of Education review it. And if they have interest, they will contact me.
I have spoken to Dr. Labby. I've spoken to the Board of Education. And what I'm doing now, and I've done before, is taking the example of former Mayor McCormick, who got that property for the first aid squad because he went in the ass, DuPont.
Time's up.
Mr. Olszewski got more than 5 minutes.
Time's up.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So, but can I have an answer on your time? Can I have an answer?
Your time's up. Thank you. Thank you for coming up.
Your time's not up, though. You can answer.
Jim, I know you orchestrate this at home before you come here so you can play a victim.
I was babysitting
time's
this
up.
evening until I came here,
Ooh.
Mayor. Thank you very
That's
much.
good, Jim. Are there any other questions? Frank?
Yeah, Frank Terzino, 32 Canal, our town. The referendum, would that be in November? How do we go about putting this on a referendum?
Counselor?
There's provision in Title 19 for a non-binding referendum that could be placed on the general election ballot on a public question.
What are the requirements?
We'll check for you. I believe it's an ordinance of the governing body or a resolution, yeah.
All right, Jessica, can you send it to Frank? The resolution or the how-to on?
Yeah, the steps, A, B, C.
The governing body would take the action.
The borough attorney would,
Yes, sir.
Okay. We do it?
Certainly, yes.
Okay, so put it on for the next meeting that we'll create a ballot item.
Okay, I appreciate that. That'd be pretty cool. And I was talking to my wife a minute ago and heard something about plans for the building. You guys have plans for the building?
Can't hear you,
Any
Frank.
plans for the building? I heard
No,
roughly.
no.
Okay. Okay, referendum would be, that's our next option, I believe. And that time, because we can formulate more of a plan with the grants, because we got our girl, she's all over the state, and we don't get a chance to see her as much as we should. So if we can get on a referendum, they give us a couple of months to get everybody's questions answered. And okay, that's about it. But it's a solid building. I know from my experience. It does have its little problems. There was a flood, but it was because there was a street blockage, not because of the building. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Guys, any questions or comments or anything, please let us know. I have an open mind. We have an open mind. I mean, it's a joint community program to make everybody proud.
Frank, we're not here as adversaries. We just have to make decisions
What?
where we're putting the money. And as you know, the DPW garage is on its last legs. And we have to address that sooner rather than later. So there are certain things that are calling out for money that have a higher priority.
Yeah, we're not asking for money.
I beg your pardon?
We're not asking for money.
Frank, it's
Give us-
$2 million to get a CO. To get a CO.
We work, the girl that works with us,
Frank,
but we're not asking for money. We're not asking for
It
money.
always comes to money, Frank. Let's put it on the ballot, see what the people want. As I told you, sometimes I get it wrong and the people say, no, we would like to do this. I'm okay with that.
Okay, we could wait. I mean, we could give it more
Right,
time
right
to
now,
plan.
we have to put money in higher priorities.
Yeah, but we're not asking for money. Eventually, there'll be some costs, I'm sure, minimal cost, light bill, et cetera. But, and there was one church that they got grants for, $20 million. They fixed up a church. I forgot where it was. That was the biggest grant, and it came out beautiful. So 1.5, 2 millions, we should be able to obtain that. So, all right, thank you, everybody. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Frank.
it.
Are there any other questions or comments? Yes. Come on up, Demi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Demetra Wagner, 7 Roma Street, Saraville. There's a really, really bad pothole on Main Street, like you're heading towards Washington Road. And it's right at where Schmidt Street is. So,
Where is it?
Schmidt. So I was
It's on
wondering,
Washington Road or on?
it's on Main Street
Lower
heading
Main
towards
Street.
Washington Road, and it's right by where Schmidt Street is.
Wait a minute, let me find out for you. Jay, is that a function of the repair they're doing there?
I think that area, Mayor, the county removed the old trolley tracks, and they haven't had a chance to finish the final paving, so I think that's where you're referring to, the intersection of Main and Schmidt Street.
Oh, okay, because it's really bad. Like, you could break a rim or lose some tires or,
I think we could reach out to the county and ask them to do temporary repairs until it's taken
So
care
how
of.
does that work when it's a county road? Is it a combination of Sayreville and the county, or is it only the county because it's a county road?
We have to ask the county for help and they'll come over. But I'm talking to them tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Being no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Make a motion to close the public?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion is there any other business before the governing body? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn? Any second.